Now, we finally have an update on the drowning death of Malcolm Jamal Warner. Now, according to ABC7, they stated that Malcolm Jamal Warner had drowned while he was on vacation in Costa Rica. Now, the article goes on to say that Warner had drowned off the coast of Costa Rica on Sunday. So this actually occurred on Sunday. They stated that the Costa Rican National Police had told this to ABC News.
Jaguar Wright just stepped into the spotlight with jaw-dropping claims about Malcolm Jamal Warner's chilling death. And if even a fraction of what she's saying is true, we might not be looking at a simple tragedy. This could be a full-blown cover-up. According to Jaguar, Malcolm wasn't just having a hard time before he passed. He was literally on the run from someone. And now, after weeks of whispers and speculation, U.S. authorities are finally making moves. Word is, police have officially launched an investigation into what really went down during Malcolm's final days and the things they're uncovering. They're eerily lining up with what Jaguar has been warning us about for weeks. So what had Malcolm so paranoid? What was he running from? And just how deep does this go? Because if Jaguar's right, and let's be real, she's been right before, this wasn't random. It wasn't sudden. It could have been a warning that all of us missed. Jaguar says Malcolm didn't just hop on a plane to Costa Rica for some peaceful downtime like the headlines keep pushing. No, she claims he was in survival mode, fleeing danger. He allegedly knew someone was coming for him, and he was terrified. Not just uneasy, but deeply convinced something bad was about to happen. And here's where it gets seriously unsettling. There's a haunting video of Malcolm from just hours before his death, strolling alone on a pitch-black beach. On the surface, it looks like a calm moment, but watch closely, and the whole vibe changes. He's not relaxed, he's tense. His eyes keep darting like he's scanning for danger. It's the kind of body language that screams, "I'm being watched." Now, people are asking the real question. Who was he running from? And why has this not been splashed all over the news? Because if Jaguar's telling the truth, something serious was going on behind the scenes. And Malcolm may have been trying to send us a silent cry for help before it was too late. Jaguar says that beach moment wasn't some spontaneous late-night walk. According to her, Malcolm had just been threatened again. This time by extremely powerful figures he was allegedly gearing up to expose. She claims that the heavy, unsettled energy we see in that clip is him carrying the weight of that warning, battling with whether to stay silent or speak out. And here's the wild twist. When that beach video first made the rounds, people were already side-eyeing it. Something felt off about him. Some even speculated he might have been under the influence of something. Drugs, alcohol, something, just trying to explain away why his demeanor seemed so different. But then the autopsy results came back, and they blew that theory out of the water. Malcolm's system was clean, no substances, nothing, which means all those assumptions about him being high or impaired, completely wrong. So now we're left with an even bigger, scarier question. If Malcolm was totally sober that night, then what exactly had him looking so uneasy, so on edge? Because whatever it wasn't something you could see, but you could feel it. And maybe, just maybe, that's the part they don't want us to find out. Jaguar Wright's claims just hit a whole new level. Because if Malcolm really was being hunted by powerful people, and he knew his life was on the line, then that beach video wasn't some random late-night stroll. It could have been the exact moment he realized just how deep he was in. And once you look at it through that lens, everything changes. Jaguar says the drowning story doesn't hold water, literally. Sure, his body was pulled from the ocean, but she claims Malcolm was already gone long before he ever touched the waves. That would explain why he didn't fight the current, didn't try to escape the riptide. Fans can't stop asking, if he was such a skilled swimmer, why didn't he fight to survive? And the chilling possibility? Maybe he couldn't, or maybe he never even had the chance. So who was chasing him? Why did they want him gone? And most importantly, how did they make it all look so clean, so normal? Jaguar says it all started when Malcolm stopped playing the game. He refused to shrink himself down just to make Hollywood feel comfortable. If you know how this business works, you already know that's when things get dangerous. She claims he wasn't willing to be the quiet, safe, polished version of a black man the industry likes to keep in the spotlight. Instead, he was loud. He was calling out hypocrisy. And apparently, he was gearing up to expose things that could have rattled some powerful cages. And if you've been paying attention, this isn't new. There's been long-standing talk about Hollywood breaking down, silencing, or even rebranding outspoken black men. The moment they stop cooperating, or worse, start talking, the storm begins. Just look at what happened to Dave Chappelle in 2005. One minute he's on top of the world. The next he walks away from a $50 million Comedy Central deal and flies out to Africa. The media went wild, spinning rumors about drug binges and mental breakdowns. But when Dave sat down with Oprah, he told the truth.
Why'd you walk away from $50 million?
Well, I wasn't walking away from the money.
Yeah.
I was walking away from the circumstances that were coming with the newfound plateau.
Yeah.
It takes a while when you punch through to adjust to the atmosphere.
It wasn't the money, it was the conditions, the control, the pressure, the way they tried to mold him into something he wasn't. He said he started seeing a disturbing pattern, a pattern where entertainers get pushed through something dark right before they hit that next level of fame. And his warning was clear. The same machine that builds you up will tear you to shreds the second you stop playing along. So instead of letting Hollywood reshape him into something he wasn't, Dave walked away.
Business since I was 14, and I've heard the stories of what happens, and I've seen these kinds of things play out in front of me.
Okay. When you say you heard the stories, what do you mean? What stories?
I mean, you see before, look, Mariah Carey made a $100 million deal, and 3 months later, she's all of a sudden mysteriously crazy. Or Martin Lawrence punches through and he's waving a gun on the street screaming, "They're trying to kill me."
Yeah, we hear those stories.
And it always happens around the time in their career where it seems as though they're crossing over the next plateau.
Yeah.
He chose peace over power, sanity over a paycheck. When Oprah pressed him on what really pushed him to leave, Dave didn't sugarcoat it. He said they were pressuring him to create sketches that didn't just miss the mark.
I was like, somebody's trying to put young Dave in a compromising position. Oprah.
They felt socially irresponsible. He could tell the jokes weren't meant to be harmless fun. The punchlines weren't with him. They were at him. And the target? Black men. Once he saw that, he couldn't unsee it. Dave said it felt like he was being used to clown his own people for the sake of a cheap laugh, and that was his breaking point. Now, if we bring that energy into Malcolm's case, the parallels are getting way too real. Dave risked his entire career speaking out, and for years he was blacklisted, his name dragged, his future uncertain. But somehow, he clawed his way back. Malcolm, according to Jaguar, wasn't given that same shot, because this time, the things he was speaking on were even more dangerous. Take the whole Drake versus Kendrick beef. While the entire hip-hop world was picking sides and fueling the chaos, Malcolm didn't join the circus. Instead, he pulled back the curtain and said exactly what he saw. Powerful people behind the scenes pulling strings, working to pit two of the most influential black men in music against each other. Jaguar says that didn't sit well with those in charge.
Community is not a monolith. There's so many levels and lanes to the black community, and we wanted to have a space where we could acknowledge, discuss all of those lanes, because they're so varied in terms of our perspectives and our opinions and our ways of life, and we wanted to be able to have a place where we can talk about all of those things, discuss all of those things, and shed light on the not all hood aspects of who we are.
Malcolm wasn't just ruffling feathers, he was exposing the hands in the shadows. And the second he did that, he might have crossed a line you can't uncross. That could have been the exact moment he turned from outspoken to dangerous in their eyes. And that's what makes his last few podcast appearances feel even more suspicious. Because according to Jaguar, they were the biggest red flags of all. Malcolm wasn't pulling punches. He went straight for the jugular. He called out the powerful shot callers behind the curtain, the ones he said treat black men like puppets, yanking strings to serve their own agenda. In one clip, he broke it all down, how the media strips black men of their humanity, boxing them in, slapping labels on them, and pushing them to the edge just for existing. But what sent chills through people's spines was when he hinted that he was about to put it all out there. No poetic riddles, no vague hints. He was urgent, direct, and talking like a man who knew the clock was running out. Now looking back, fans can't help but ask, was that his warning? Did he know he had just crossed the wrong line? And as wild as Jaguar Wright's claims sound, more and more people are starting to connect the dots, because when you really sit down and map this thing out, there's just too much that doesn't make sense. The timeline is messy, the details keep changing, and for something they keep calling straightforward, it falls apart the second you look deeper than the headline. First, officials pushed a neat little story. Malcolm supposedly got caught in a riptide while trying to save his daughter. A spokesperson for the Judicial Investigation Agency said he had been playing with her near the shoreline, then took her out of the water before heading back in with a friend. The current pulled them under, the friend made it out, but Malcolm didn't. Sounds tragic. But then came the plot twist. The chief of the tourist police in the Atlantic region gave a completely different account. He claimed Malcolm's family, including his daughter, wasn't even at the beach when it happened. He said they'd interviewed the family, and they confirmed they weren't there during the accident. Now we've got two conflicting versions from official sources, and zero clarity on which, if either, is actually true. What's even stranger? The Judicial Investigation Agency didn't back down when pressed. According to the Daily Mail, when reporters reached out for clarification, they didn't change their story. They doubled down. They repeated that Warner's daughter was on the shoreline and even added extra detail, claiming a surfer had used his board to help bring her to safety while a volunteer lifeguard pulled Malcolm and another surfer to shore. The problem? Everyone claiming to have been there seems to have their own, completely different version of events. No two accounts match, not even close. So, at some point, you've got to wonder, who's actually telling the truth? Or is anyone telling the truth at all? Well, according to Jaguar Wright, the US government isn't exactly buying the official story either. And that's why, she claims, they've quietly launched their own investigation into what really happened to Malcolm Jamal Warner. Now remember, all of this is going down outside US soil, technically out of American jurisdiction. But Malcolm was still a US citizen, and if there's even a whiff of foul play, you already know Uncle Sam doesn't just sit back. This wouldn't be the first time the US government stepped into a suspicious death overseas. Think back to 2022, the heartbreaking case of Shanquella Robinson in Cabo, Mexico. Even with Mexican authorities running their own investigation, the US launched one too. Why? Because the circumstances were just too shady to ignore. And if history's any indicator, Malcolm's case might be getting way more attention behind closed doors than they want us to believe. According to Jaguar Wright, that's exactly what's happening right now. She claims the feds are already digging into what really went down. And if she's right, Hollywood better brace itself. Because here's the thing. If investigators follow the trail back to the people who were allegedly threatening Malcolm, and it turns out his death wasn't just a tragic accident, we're talking about an industry earthquake, the kind of scandal that forces powerful players to answer for things they've been sweeping under the rug for years. If Jaguar's telling the truth and the feds are truly involved, then this is bigger than anyone imagined. Malcolm Jamal Warner might not have been trying to just step out of the spotlight. He might have been fighting to stay alive. And now, with the US government reportedly stepping in, this isn't just the story of a man lost at sea anymore. This is about secrets unraveling, powerful names being dragged into the light, and the possibility of Hollywood's darkest corners finally being exposed. Because if the truth comes out, it's game over for whoever's been hiding in the shadows. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because when the next update drops, you're gonna want to be here to hear it first. See you in the next one.